This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. It is Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Ephraim Graham. And ahead today, Democrats score some big and largely expected wins in Tuesday's elections. But do those victories mean anything for next year's presidential race? We'll take a look. As Iran builds up its nuclear program and its capability of developing nuclear weapons, Israel is also getting ready for the possibility of war. We're going to hear a word from that from Jerusalem. And a high school football coach fired for prayer before games. We're going to tell you where his legal battle stands now. And with Kanye West's conversion to Christianity making headlines, we're going to hear what another rap star, Lecrae, has to say about Kanye's new faith. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We begin this half hour with Tuesday's elections, a win for Democrats in Virginia, where for the first time in a generation, Democrats now control the levers of power. Suburban voters turned out in high numbers, particularly in Northern Virginia near Washington, D.C. Polling showed gun control was a major issue after a shooter killed 12 people in Virginia Beach back in May. Democrats have pledged to enact stricter gun laws. While Democrats claim it is bad news for President Trump, CBN chief political analyst David Brody points out he lost Virginia in 2016, but still won the presidency.
Hillary Clinton won Virginia in 2016, and how did it work out for her? Donald Trump is not on the ballot. So as much as Democrats are going to make a big deal, when he's on the ticket, it means it's a big difference.
Meanwhile, in Kentucky, Democratic challenger Andy Beshear declared victory in the governor's race over Republican incumbent Matt Bevin. The GOP governor, trailing by less than 5,000 votes, is not conceding the race just yet. Republicans kept the governorship in Mississippi. I want to turn now to the tragic massacre of 9 American citizens in a gunfire attack in Mexico yesterday. A suspect was arrested and is under investigation for possible connections with the deaths. The group had been traveling to a wedding. 3 mothers and 6 of their children were killed in the attack by drug cartel gunmen, including 2 twin infants. And relatives say one 7-month-old baby is still alive because of her mother's sacrifice.
I don't know if Christina, in her last moments of life, saves her daughter by laying her down on the floorboard.
Police called the attack a case of mistaken identity. They believe the gunman may have thought the women's 3 SUVs belonged to a rival drug gang. This week, Iran took 2 major steps in breaking away from the 2015 nuclear deal, building up its potential for developing nuclear weapons. That country announced Monday it was doubling its number of advanced centrifuges. And Tuesday, Iran's president, Hassan Rouhani, said that his government will start injecting uranium gas into more than 1,000 centrifuges, another step toward allowing Iran to produce enriched uranium. Those centrifuges are part of a precursor for a nuclear facility which sits deep inside a mountain. Israel at one point threatened to bomb Iranian nuclear sites like Fordo. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem with more on the threat from Iran. So, Chris, we see that Israel threatened to bomb some of Iran's nuclear facilities. What is the possibility that Israel would actually do that?
Well, it is a possibility, Ephraim. And first of all, you have to ask the question, is it possible? First of all, on the defense, Iran has been doing what it can to forestall the possibility of an attack. The way they've done that is they've spread out their nuclear facilities throughout Iran, and they have built underground facilities like Fordo that have been concrete hardened to protect against any air attack by the air. And the other thing is that they realized back in 1981, Israel attacked Iraq's nuclear facility. It was just one, and they realized to prevent that, they've spread those out all around. On the offense, what Israel has been doing, they have F-35s. These are the most sophisticated fighter jets they can find. They can probably go through Iranian airspace. There've also been anecdotal things, like they have tested, what it's like to go from the distance from Israel to Iran. They've flown those flights over the Mediterranean, and they've done what they can eventually, it's going to be a political decision whether or not they do that. And we have heard of stories where actually the Israeli Security Cabinet has actually gone ahead and said we can fight then and do that attack against Iran's nuclear facilities, but they finally pulled back. So it is a possibility. Eventually, it's going to be a political decision whether Israel goes ahead and do that.
Now, we know Iran has nuclear ambitions, but what are some other ways where Iran is threatening Israel?
Well, Ephraim, they're actually trying to surround Israel. If you look in Israel's northern border, Hezbollah at one time had about 14,000 rockets back in 2006. They have about 150,000 rockets now. They have rockets in Yemen. They have rockets in Gaza. They also have rockets, they believe, stationed in Syria and Iraq. So actually, they're trying to surround Israel with threats of precision-guided missiles. Back in 2006, we were on the Lebanese-Israeli border, and they fired 4,000 rockets during the Second Lebanon War. It basically paralyzed northern Israel. You can imagine what would happen now with 150,000 rockets coming from the north, south, and from the east as well. And also trying to build a land bridge. And Ephraim, what does that mean? It means that they're trying to gain territory and influence over places in Syria and Iraq, Lebanon, and they want to build this land bridge all the way from Tehran to the Mediterranean, all in the goal of trying to destroy the Jewish state. They say that often, they say that openly. They want to eliminate Israel, and they're trying to do it by precision-guided missiles and ultimately by a nuclear weapon.
So, Chris, if Israel and Iran went to war, how do you see the U.S. involved?
Well, it's a great question, Ephraim. Right now, the U.S. has facilities. They have Patriot missile batteries here in Israel. They have them in Saudi Arabia. They have Juniper Cobra, which is these annual military exercises between the United States and Israel. And you also believe that the United States would have the back of Israel in case of an open war against Israel. Just a couple of weeks ago, U.S. Secretary Mike Pompeo visited Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So there's a close relationship with the U.S. and Israel, and you would imagine in any case of an open war between Israel and Iran that the United States would be standing with the Jewish state militarily, legally, and diplomatically as well.
All right. Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reporting for us from Jerusalem. Chris, thank you so much. Coming up, he was a longtime high school football coach in the state of Washington until he was fired over prayer before games, but he isn't giving up his fight for religious freedom. We're going to bring you his story when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes! Right on time!
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
A silent prayer at the 50-yard line. That's what got longtime high school football coach Joe Kennedy fired. But this former Marine is not giving up. He told CBN's John Jessup he'll keep fighting for religious freedom, saying, quote, "I've got blood in the game."
About an hour-long ferry ride from downtown Seattle and across the Puget Sound sits the city of Bremerton. And this is Bremerton High School, as you can see, known as an Achievement Award winner among Washington State public schools. It is also known as being home to a legal battle involving a high school football coach and prayer that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
We had one successful year the whole time I was here, and we won the championship.
Joe Kennedy loves the team he coached on this field for years, still proudly sporting the school colors.
Everything, even down to my t-shirt, is Bremerton Knights.
In 2015, that pride turned to disappointment when the school district suspended him for a different public display, prayer.
At the beginning, it was kind of awkward to me because I was just giving thanks, and I had a couple of kids, and they came up and said, "Hey, Coach, what are you doing out there?" And I was like, "Just giving thanks for what you guys did."
These silent post-game prayers on the 50-yard line caught on, spilling over to his players and even opposing teams. School officials worried, though, this might give the impression that the district approved of the coach's public prayers, creating a potential endorsement of religion. They eventually fired Coach Kennedy. He calls that decision a violation of his free speech.
No one should ever have to choose between living their faith and their job.
His attorneys at First Liberty Institute argue this case is about the First Amendment and religious liberty.
Coaches, teachers, students do not shed their constitutional rights just by walking onto a football field at a public school.
Coach Kennedy's stance has sparked passion, with big-name supporters weighing in and critics who say he's just plain wrong.
I talked about the challenges of being a Christian in a place like Seattle.
Dory Monson is a popular right-leaning Seattle radio host who's addressed the case on his show.
To be a successful coach, you have to bring a diverse group of kids together. I think once a coach starts imposing his faith in a public school, then I think you have challenged bringing those kids together.
For him, this hits close to home. As a Christian and former coach, he quietly prayed for his players during games. He cites concerns about the country's religious diversity in disagreeing with Coach Kennedy's approach.
If my kids were playing on a sports team and that coach happened to be Muslim, I wouldn't want that coach praying with my kids. And so I felt like as a Christian, it was not my responsibility to pray with the girls that I was coaching at the public high school.
Kennedy emphasizes his prayers were never mandatory.
I had some parents that I don't want my kid involved in that, and I respected that. That is their right as a parent. And it was never a forced thing. It wasn't even an asked thing.
Early this year, the Supreme Court declined to consider the case. 4 justices, however, expressed potential interest if the case explored whether the school's demand for Coach Kennedy to stop praying violated his right to practice his religious beliefs based on the First Amendment's free exercise clause.
We consider that, in a little opinion, our roadmap to victory in Coach's case, and so we're going to follow that now.
For now, the case is back in district court, and Coach Kennedy's returned to the football stadium to support the team, but from a different point of view.
So now when you do the football games, are you up here?
Yep.
In the bleachers?
Matter of fact, I sat right there Friday night. I'm still thankful for being able to come here, and then we still got a team, and I still see these young guys out here and seeing them out there praying still out on the 50, so that's kind of cool.
That legacy lives on?
Yeah.
While he misses the kids, he says he's no longer bitter about losing his job.
I was blessed for, 8 years with these guys, and it was just awesome. And I look at my blessings instead of what I lost.
Still, as a Desert Storm Marine veteran, Kennedy says the fight is bigger than him.
Praying I could do anywhere. The Christian side of me was like, yeah, well, you don't take away my faith. Prayer makes no difference where you do it. But the Marine in me, I was like, yeah, I will fight for the Constitution and everybody's rights. It means something to me. I got blood in that game.
The Bremerton School District declined our request for an interview citing the ongoing case. The attorney representing the school district also declined our interview. John Jessup, CBN News, reporting in Bremerton, Washington.
Still ahead, Kanye West's new album, Jesus is King, was an instant hit, debuting at #1. as the musical superstar's conversion to Christianity continues to make headlines. We're going to hear from a Grammy Award-winning artist, Lecrae, and get his take on what's happening with Kanye. And he'll tell us about his own musical project, something new and exclusive, when we come back.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Kanye West's Jesus is King album debuted at #1 on Billboard, but the rapper and his faith continue to draw both praise and criticism. We spoke with Grammy Award-winning artist Lecrae for his take on what we're seeing, and in a Studio 5 exclusive, Lecrae also reveals the title and timeline for his own new music project. He's drawing both praise and criticism at the same time from all sides. Surprise you?
Not at all.
Why not?
Of course, Kanye, you know, that's what Kanye does. He draws praise and criticism every time. I think he's a polarizing figure, obviously. I think he, you know, he says what's on his mind, and he does not really, he's unmoved by what opinions you might have of him based off of what he feels compelled to say. Mm-hmm. And at this juncture in time, I believe he's compelled to tell people about Jesus. I believe he's compelled to say, I found a new faith and I'm serious about it. And he's not really worried about the backlash of those who want him to talk about the content that he used to talk about. He's not worried about the backlash of those who say he's insincere. He's not worried about the backlash of those who say he's using this as some sort of play, a political play. I think he's just sincerely saying, hey, this is where what I feel and where I stand. And even if he's not sincere, which I have no way of knowing, even if Kanye was my best friend, I don't know what's going on in his heart. Only God knows that. Even if he's insincere, the gospel message is very clear and evident, and God's going to get his glory with what he's saying on that project.
Something you said that I agree with. Not my favorite Kanye album, but certainly love the content. What is your favorite Kanye album?
I think in terms of musicality and in terms of the skill set, because, you know, a lot of times Christians, we have this, we can't delineate, we can't separate the quality of something from the content of something. We struggle with doing that. So when we're talking about, you know, the skill set, the quality of the work, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I felt like was very well put together. The musicianship, the writing, the way things flow together. You know, a good friend of mine, S1, produced the song Power, and just knowing the work that went into it, and it's like watching an incredible athlete play phenomenally, regardless of their intention, regardless if they want all the glory and all the fame. You can't deny they played an incredible game, and that's what I felt like happened on that particular album. But Jesus is King. You gotta love content that sounds like sincere, passionate faith. It sounds like, to me, a new believer who just met Jesus and is like, I cannot mute this newfound love that I have, and I love that about it.
Turning now to the work that you're doing, new music coming?
Absolutely.
How soon? What can you share?
I've been working on it pretty tirelessly for a while now, and I think the crock pot is just about done cooking. So I'm excited to, I would like to see something out by the end of the year. If not, definitely the top of the year. But I've been growing a scruff on my face just as a symbol of hard work. I've been working. Clean cut Lecrae, that means the album is ready.
All right. And it's called Restoration?
Yeah, so the album is called Restoration, and there's the story around that is just, I've really truly been restored. God has done some restorative work in my life over the last few years, and I've gone through a lot of turmoil and pain behind the scenes, and people, they know some of it, but they don't know how it truly affected me and my family, and so a lot of that will be shown, and just people will be able to see, that some relationships have been restored, some perspective has been restored, and my faith has definitely been restored.
Again, Lecrae's new album is called Restoration, and that is also its theme. He shared that news exclusively with Studio 5 this week, and he's got a new book coming out as well. Now, for more uplifting entertainment stories like that, be sure to check it out on an all-new edition of Studio 5 tonight at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. This week, we're traveling to Hawaii for a look at the new epic World War II film Midway. We also sit down with actor Rob Lowe for a look at his new film on Netflix called Holiday in the Wild. Coming up, a new film brings us a look at the historic and remarkable partnership between President Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II and how they worked together to defeat Soviet communism and win the Cold War. We're going to have a look at that movie when we come back.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
On the surface, President Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II had little in common, but the two leaders were shot by would-be assassins within weeks of one another back in 1981. And that shared near-death experience created a strong bond between them as they worked together to bring down the communist Soviet Union and win the Cold War. Now that story is coming to theaters in a new documentary. It's called The Divine Plan. In the spring of 1981, assassins shot both President Reagan and Pope John Paul II, just 6 weeks apart. Both men nearly died.
Both of them lost half their blood. One 60% estimate, one 60%, one 50%, and some of the facts come from the New York Times.
They both said to one another, this Protestant president and obviously Catholic Pope, they said to one another that they believed that God had spared their lives because they should have bled to death. They both should have died.
While the Pope and President had admired one another from afar, the assassination attempts drew them together. When meeting for the first time at the Vatican the following year, they confided in each other their belief God had spared their lives for a reason. That reason? To defeat communism. In private, Reagan put a name on it, the Divine Plan, or the DP.
And DP was a code word he always used with his own cabinet, Casey and other. When they say DP, it was a code word because they felt like certain things were always occurring in some kind of higher design. So when he confessed to John Paul II that he felt like, not that he didn't have a faith, but that his faith mission was galvanized by that assassination, John Paul II agreed with him, and they were united from that point forward.
On the surface, the two men appeared to have little in common.
John Paul II, because he only knew of Reagan through Western media, actually was suspect about him being a bit of a warmonger, because if you listen to Western media at the time, so he wanted to meet, on top of this, he wanted to meet Reagan face to face to see if he was a man of peace. But after that meeting, he told his peers that Reagan was a man of peace. We could partner with him.
Robert Orlando, who wrote and directed The Divine Plan, says they quickly discovered strong agreement on the bedrock principles of faith, freedom, and human dignity.
They also both suffered a lot in their lives. By the time he was 21, he describes himself as very much alone, and all the people he had loved had died already.
Although they visited in person only 5 times, President Reagan and Pope John Paul began a rich correspondence, and through it, developed an extraordinary bond. From the Polish solidarity movement in the Pope's homeland to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Divine Plan shows how the President and the Pope persevered together in prayer and diplomacy until Soviet communism ultimately unraveled. The Divine Plan is in theaters tonight only in a special Fathom event. For more information on where it's playing, go to cbnnews.com. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is redeem. And with that, I say, stop beating yourself up over the time you think you've lost or that you've wasted. God's timing is always perfect, and in following Him, He promises to redeem the time. With that word, don't waste another second wondering, where did the time go or what did I miss? Set your affections on things above and make today a wonderful Wednesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.